Hello, comic book movie fans. My name is Dan, and I am here to talk about why I think Batman v Superman might end up sucking. Number one, too many characters too soon. And when I mean too many characters too soon, I mean too many Easter eggs too soon. And when I mean too many Easter eggs too soon, I mean Iron Man 2. Like we saw in Iron Man 2, a lot of that movie was dedicated to setup. Well, maybe not a lot, but enough that you would notice. You would see, like, there was a scene where Tony Stark was building the new element for his arc reactor in his chest, and he just happened to have the outline for Captain America's shield, or that Coulson had to go out to the desert to deal with a thing in New Mexico, and ended up being Thor's hammer, and then Natasha Romanoff, and then there was shield. We don't need all that in Batman v Superman. It's distracting, and it takes away from the movie, especially if it's not really needed. I mean, cute little Easter eggs, like, again, like in Iron Man 2, where you see Hulk in the news, and that's the events of the Incredible Hulk. So you kind of get an idea that he's in that universe, and that's really what you want to avoid, I think. I mean, you want to have those references in there, but, you don't need one for Green Arrow, you don't need one for Green Lantern, you don't need one for Flash, you don't need one for Martian Manhunter, although I don't think they're going to use Martian Manhunter, but you get the idea. You don't have to tease the fact that all these people exist. You just kind of have to, what's the word I'm looking for? Show that the world is bigger, but not necessarily saying, oh, look, we're going to go to Star Labs. Oh, they don't have it in Star Labs. What about Ted Kord? Oh, he might have it. Oh, let's go to Ted Kord. Lois Lane, you can go to Ted Kord Industries and see if he has it. Oh, he doesn't have it. Oh, let's go to Queen Consolidating. Oh, he doesn't have it either. Oh, how about we go to who else? Holtz Holdings. Mr. Terrific. Let's see if he has it. Oh, he doesn't have it. You don't need that. And I understand that you have to show that the world is bigger, but you don't have to show it. You can show it visually, like the sign for Kord Industries, Queen Consolidating, Holt Holdings. Just show us that it exists, but don't go around explaining that it exists, right? Like, I'm pretty sure we're going to see Diana, Wonder Woman. We're going to see where she comes from. We're going to see that it's Themyscira, but you don't really have to show it. You can just show that she's a otherworldly character, that she doesn't quite understand the world she's in, that she's maybe a little too aloof. Maybe she's odd because she doesn't understand basic customs, because she comes from Paradise Island. There's no men on there. They're, Greek inspired, right? So that you don't have to show that she's coming from there. You don't even have to show the gods. You can just show that she has there's something different about her, but you don't quite know what. And then when, say, Doomsday attacks, if, we're to believe that Doomsday is going to appear in this movie, and she just happens to appear on the field, and, Superman goes, "What are you doing here? Get out of here." And then she, decks Doomsday and knocks him into a building and goes, "Oh, crap, what the hell? Who are you?" And goes, "Oh, I'm not really human. I look human, but I'm actually made of clay, or I'm a god." I don't know what they're going to do. But you don't have to show that she is from that place. You just have to imply it. And I think that's what they're going to end up doing. They're just going to end up showing all these gods, and it's just going to look weird. It's going to take you out of the movie because it's going to be vastly different, because they didn't show anything even remotely close to that in Man of Steel. Number 2, keep it simple. Don't make it complex. Because as I understand the story, it's going to be Batman versus Superman, versus Wonder Woman, versus Doomsday, versus Lex Luthor, versus Aquaman, versus the world. Because the world doesn't like Superman because he knocked over so many buildings. They don't like aliens because the last time aliens showed up, they knocked over buildings. They don't trust Batman because they don't think he's real. They don't know Diana because Diana is probably not really a major factor in the story, but she's going to just be there. Lex Luthor is going to be experimenting on Zod, and he's going to turn him into Doomsday, apparently. Aquaman's going to show up and maybe stab Superman in the neck or something. I don't know. See, you make the world big. You make the story complex. You have different threads, but they have to connect. Like, why is Aquaman in it? Is he in it just to show that the world has an Aquaman, or is he in it to help fight Doomsday? Is Diana in it to show that there are gods, that there are otherworldly magical beings, or is she just there, or is she there to fight Doomsday, or does she know that Doomsday's coming, which she probably wouldn't? Lex Luthor's there because he has to be there. He's a Superman villain. He's the classic Superman villain, but is he there to, you know, rob land? Is he there to do, you know, what's he there to do? And then you got Batman and versus Superman, and they're not going to like each other. They're going to punch for a bit, and then they're going to be friends, and then they're going to fight Doomsday. And somehow they're going to be Doomsday. I don't know what Batman's going to do against Doomsday. Maybe punch him, and then he's going to get his head blown off. I don't know. But the story is probably not that bad. But I just don't know how you're going to connect all these events together and not just make it seem like one giant Easter egg movie. Number 3, not fixing Superman. And what I mean by not fixing Superman, I mean not evolving his character. Like in the first Man of Steel, I would consider him I would call him like an unsure Superman. Like he wasn't sure of himself. He wasn't sure what he could do. And, you know, it was reflected in his abilities and, you know, his conflicts, you know, what his Earth father told him, and, you know, what's his face told him, what's his name? Russell Crowe told him in the ship. Like, he wasn't sure what to do. He wasn't sure how to save people. Well, I mean, he wasn't sure what to do. And I hope they move away from that. I hope that they show that he's, well, for lack of a better word, I'm going to compare it to Captain America. Because in The Winter Soldier, you saw who Captain America was. You know, he saw the world very black and very white. And everyone saw that. You know, you saw it reflected in Tasha Romanoff. You saw it reflected a bit in Maria Hill. You saw that he was who he was. And the reason they followed him is because they knew they can trust him. And in this one, they're going to show, I think, you know, based on when you hear on rumors, that the world doesn't really know if they can trust Superman. So they're kind of hesitant whether or not they're going to trust him. And I hope that they show that, yeah, the world may not trust him, but they come around to him. That they come around to trust this man who is, you know, so not so much better, but, you know, that he's a noble person, that has a noble spirit, that he presents himself like royalty, but he has the heart of a peasant, that he is, you know, this person that you can aspire to be, and not just be that one guy who showed up and knocked over a bunch of buildings and snapped that one guy's neck. I believe you also have to change the fact that you have to show the fact that he regretted killing Zod. You can't keep going with the idea that Superman just kind of goes, well, I killed Zod. I probably didn't have to, so I won't do it again. Or maybe I might. It, you know, depends on the situation. You can't have that Superman again, because the idea in my head and the idea in the head of everyone else is that Superman is the kind of guy who does not kill. He abstains from it because he thinks life is precious. He's the kind of guy who would fight against another hero who might say, well, we have to kill him. He'll go, no, we can't kill him. We have to stop him, and we can put him away somewhere where he'll never escape. You have to show, you can't keep showing that he wasn't affected by it. You have to show that he really, really didn't want to do it. And if you just show, well, I did it, it sucked, I won't do it again, but he kind of brushes it off, then I think you have a problem, because people, I mean, my personal opinion was I didn't like the fact he killed Zod at the very end, because that's not Superman to me. You know, that's my opinion. That's not Superman to me, but you can't, I don't think you can do it again, because then you can't relate to him. Like, my personal opinion, like, after he killed Zod and he yelled and Lois Lane came in and gave him an embrace, what they should have shown after the fact that, they shouldn't have shown him crashing that satellite in front of the general. What they should have shown was, well, they don't have to show this per se, but I think what would have served Man of Steel better is if, you know, he's floating, you know, listening to the planet, kind of like that scene in Superman Returns where you see Brandon Routh just kind of listening to the planet, and then he hears something and he flies to that direction. I think what would have served this movie better is if you see him as Superman after that scene, he flies off and he thinks he's screaming, what did I do? What did I do? I just killed this man. I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do this. Because, he sent the rest of them, I believe he sent the rest of them to the Phantom Zone, if I'm not mistaken. So my idea is that he should have been in space, maybe floating around, just kind of going, what did I do? My fathers taught me not to do this, right? Jor-El and my dad told me not to do this. You know what? I'm going to make a vow to never kill again. That's what I think would have saved that movie. I think if they would have showed that simple scene at the very end of that movie, right, where you see Superman's resolve to go, I'll never do that again. I'll always find a better way. That's inspiring, and that would have lifted up that movie. That would have improved that movie. People would have went, oh my God, what did he do? And then you see that it affected him greatly, and that he changed, and that he saw that what he did was wrong. That would have saved that movie. And I think they have to reflect it in this. And if they don't, that's a major fault. Now, I can keep going on and on and on about things I hope they don't do and things I really want them to change. But I'll do this kind of the scene in conclusion. Basically, what I hope for is that it sounds like I was really harsh in this movie. Or this movie that hasn't even come out yet. That I'm being really harsh on what Man of Steel did and what I hope Batman v Superman fixes. And I have to be, because I want this movie to be good. I'm not just dumping on the movie because I don't like Superman. I'm dumping on this movie because I didn't like Man of Steel. And I think Man of Steel, whatever that movie is, if you hold it into, if you compact it into a little box, it's going to be carried over into Batman v Superman, and you're going to get a lot of the same. I don't want that. I want something better than that. I have to compare this movie to Marvel because they're the main competitor. They've been showcasing, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, the Avengers. They've been showing all these heroes. And the reason people like those movies is not because of the actions or because of the story. It's because the actors embodied the spirit of the character, right? And Henry Cavill, Cavill, whatever you think of him, he has the right look, and I think he wants to embody that idea of Superman, but I just don't think in Man of Steel it was written correctly. Like I'll take, for example, I'll use this one again. Captain America, Steve Rogers, Chris Evans. To me, what sold me on that movie was one scene. Well, what sold me, never mind the movie, but what sold me on him being Captain America was one scene in The Winter Soldier where he's sitting down, he's talking to Natasha Romanoff, and they're having this close, this heart-to-heart where she's not sure what she's doing anymore because she used to work for the Russians and now she's didn't know whose lies she was telling. And then he says a line saying, well, maybe you're in the wrong business. And she looks at him and she sees that he was being sincere. Like, he was being a genuine person. And she asks him a question. He goes, no, something about if it were up to her to save him, would she trust him? And he says, I would now. That to me was the embodiment of Captain America and, what made him great. I want that scene. I want that in Batman v Superman. Never mind what Batman does. Never mind what the rest of them do, because Superman is the key to that movie. You have to show us that Superman is that character. Superman is the character that you want to be. That's the one that everyone aspires to be. That's the hero everyone is judged by. And you have to show that in the movie. You have to show that he is Superman. Not that he's the Man of Steel, but that he's Superman. And there's a difference, because Man of Steel, that's more of a description, right? He's a man and he's, his body is as hard as steel or whatever. But Superman is Superman, if you understand what I mean. He is the character all other heroes are judged by, because he's this great, noble person. And you have to show that. And I don't think this movie, and definitely not Man of Steel, didn't embody that greatness of him. They didn't embody the fact that he was this great person. They embodied the fact that he's very powerful. They embodied the fact that he's conflicted, but they didn't show how great he was. They didn't show how noble he can be. And I think that's a major fault in the movie. And I hope that doesn't carry into Batman v Superman. And I'm also not going to go in there saying, oh, it's Batman v Superman, it's going to be the greatest movie ever. I can't go in there judging the movie like that. I have to judge it compared to whatever else is coming out that year. And I believe it's definitely Civil War, and I think Doctor Strange. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to look it up. Whatever. I'm not going to be blinded by the fact that maybe visually it's very impressive. I'm not going to be blinded by the fact that it's Batman and Superman and they're on the same screen, and so therefore it has to be the best movie ever. I can't judge it that way. I have to judge it like I would judge any other movie. Is it well acted? Is it well directed? Could I follow the plot easily? Was the plot entertaining? You know, how does this compare to Age of Ultron? How does this compare to Civil War? But I think Batman v Superman is going to come out before Civil War, so I have to compare it to probably Ant-Man and Age of Ultron. How does it compare to those two movies? How does this, I have to compare it fairly, and I also have to look at it through a spectrum of, does this improve upon the last movie? Do I like Batman? Do I like the new Superman? Do I like Diana? Do I like all these new characters? Because that's the crux of the movie, because it's going to build up a world. And if I don't like Diana, and if I don't like what Ben Affleck does with Batman, the movie kind of falls, because those characters are important to DC. You have to like them. You can't not like them, otherwise no one's going to want to watch those movies, or people are less inclined to watch the movies. I mean, we're always going to go out and watch it, but you have to make sure people love these characters. And my hope personally is that this Batman v Superman movie is good. I hope it's great. I hope it's really great. I hope it's, on par with Age of Ultron. Do I think it's going to be on par with Age of Ultron? Probably not. Do I think it'll probably be beaten by Civil War? Yeah, I think it will. If only because it's going to be Captain America versus, Iron Man. That's, we're invested in those characters. We want to see those characters duke it out, because I think probably in Age of Ultron they're going to have a schism because, Tony thinks one way, Cap thinks another, and there's your conflict. And people want to see that because they're invested, right? Because there's a build up to that moment, and it's going to culminate in Civil War. And this one, you just had the one movie. You just had Man of Steel. So you have to make sure that this movie, and I hope they do, that everyone in this movie is good, and you have to sell the characters, not the story, not the action. You have to sell the performances, and my personal hope is that they do. Okay guys, that was my incoherent rant. If you made it to the end, why would you? I appreciate it. Leave a like. Thanks for listening, I guess, maybe. I'm not sure how often I'll do this, and I'll probably do one for why I think it'll work, why I think Batman v Superman is awesome. I just have to get this one out of the way first, because it addresses the issues that are most glaring to me. There are reasons why I think this movie will be bad, and there are also reasons why I think this movie will be good. So, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.